Alright, this problem basically deals with how do we, what happens when we have over or under applied overhead at the end of each period. So remember, back to this prior example, our actual overhead are debits to our manufacturing. So our actual is on the debit side, and our applied or allocated, those terms are used interchangeably. Applied meaning what is moved actually to the jobs themselves is on the credit side. And what happens at the end of the period is we end up with this thing having a balance. Now we can't have a balance, this needs to be zero. So if it has a debit balance, meaning more actual cost than applied, then we've under applied overhead. And if it has a credit balance, then we've over applied overhead. And then we'll fix that. And basically that's what this problem is asking us to do. So the first thing it says is let's figure out the predetermined overhead rate, because that's how overhead is going to get applied or allocated. You did that right. It's oh, I'm sorry, you didn't do that right. This one is our estimated overhead cost, and I think this was a little bit tricky. We had to know which one of these things was overhead. So anything related to our I don't know if you can hear that pounding going on. There's some construction here. Anything related to our production is going to be overhead. So maintenance, yes. Plant supervisor, yes. Screws, nails, glues, yes. Plant utilities, yes. Freight out, no. This is a shipping expense. Depreciation on plant and equipment, yes. Advertising expense, no. This is a selling expense. So we add up those estimated overhead and we come up with 211,000. You correctly got the estimated machine over hours, or 25, and so we multiply that out and we get $8.44. And so that is how much is going to get allocated here. Alright, so basically we take this allocation rate, the $8.44, we multiply it by the actual machine hours of 32,100. And that's where we get the 270,942. So that's the applied. That's what got moved to the jobs. What our actual overhead is, then we need to look over here, and it's the same items, just these different amounts. So maintenance labor, yes. Plant supervisor salary, yes. Nails, screws and glue, yes. Utilities, yes. Freight out, no. That's a shipping expense. Depreciation on plant and equipment, yes. Advertising expense, no. That's a selling expense. So we put all of those in, we total them up, and actually the debit side here equals 301,350. So debit of 301,350, credit of 270,924 leaves us a debit balance of 30,426. What this means is we under applied overhead. We only put 270,000 of overhead to our jobs. If we'd had perfect knowledge, we would have put 30,426 more. And that's what we have to do with this last part here. So this account has to be zero. If it has a debit balance of 30,426, we need to credit overhead for 30,426, and the difference goes to costs of goods sold. We need to move that cost to our actual products and increase the cost of our products because we under applied overhead here, and that's the same amount.